Welcome, educators. This is Tahmina Lucky, the English Miss with you. Today, I'm going to discuss about a very important topic in education sector, and that is learning deficit. So let's get started. Did you know that 1 in 5 students of Bangladesh struggles with learning deficit? So if the students are 50 in our class, about 10 students struggle with learning deficit. As it is a very good number, we must work on the issue of learning deficit as an educator. Learning deficit refers to difficulties in acquiring, processing, or retaining information, which can affect a student's ability to read, write, solve math problems, or comprehend concepts effectively. It is like a part of a broken bridge because of what a student can't melt with the mainstream of designated goals. Let's watch the percentage of learning deficit among the three major subjects of high school section. In Bangla, mild learning deficit is 25%, moderate learning deficit is 31%, severe learning deficit is 24%. Rate of students with learning deficit requiring intervention is 55%, and the number of learning outcomes requiring intervention is 22. In English, mild learning deficit is 20%, moderate learning deficit is 38%, severe learning deficit is 18%. Rate of students with learning deficit requiring intervention is 56%, and number of learning outcomes requiring intervention is 34. In mathematics, mild learning deficit is 16%, moderate learning deficit is 14%, severe learning deficit is 39%, rate of students with learning deficit requiring intervention is 53%, and number of learning outcomes requiring intervention is 26. Now let's watch learning deficit in various situations. At first, let's know about divisional level. Comparatively, learning deficit in Sylhet and Chattogram division in these three subjects are higher than other divisions. On the contrary, learning deficit in Khulna and Rangpur division is minimum than the other divisions, and it is less than the rate of national learning deficit. Now, district level. Learning deficit was identified among different districts. In Rangamati and Kagurachuri district, learning deficit was 70% and 90% respectively. Almost all the students need to bring under remedial support. In Bangla, English and mathematics, students with 50% or more severe learning deficit are in 6, 10 and 13 districts respectively. In the above mentioned three subjects, students with 40 to 49% severe learning deficit are in 5, 18 and 13 districts respectively. In these three subjects, students with 30% to 39% severe learning deficit are in 21, 18 and 18 districts respectively. In these three subjects, students with 20% to 29% severe learning deficit are in 17, 12 and 11 districts respectively. In gender issue, considering level and average skill score, no difference was seen among boys and girls in learning and learning deficit. Considering rural and urban differences, differences were found among the rural and urban students. In Bangla, English, and mathematics, students with severe learning deficit in city and village area are 36% and 43% respectively. Geographical issue. Severe learning deficit was diagnosed in hill tracts, coastal area, char or alluvial island, and wetland basin. The level of learning deficit is highest in hilly areas. In plain area, subject-wise severe learning deficits are 28% to 37%. In coastal area, alluvial island and wetland basin areas, students of severe learning deficit are 42% to 51%, and in hill tract, students of severe learning deficit are 67% to 73%. Now let's know why it is necessary to work on this issue. We must work on this issue for early intervention and prevention. Early detection of learning deficit allows for timely intervention and prevention. Delayed diagnosis can lead to more significant issues later in life, including difficulties in academic and social settings. Early diagnosis can prevent bigger struggles later in life. For personalized instruction, specialized teaching methods or therapy can be provided timely. Providing them with the support they need is to succeed by reducing emotional and social difficulties. For efficient use of resources, educational resources, whether time, materials, or staffing, are used efficiently and effectively. For enhanced student confidence and independence, addressing deficits provides clarity and reassurance. When students understand their learning styles, they can adopt personalized strategies, leading to greater independence in tackling academic tasks. For improved academic outcomes, targeted support enables students to perform better in assessments and overall coursework. Now, the next thought comes to our mind that how to identify learning deficit. After a long-term research, the leading educators created a method to identify learning deficit. And the name of the method is diagnostic assessment method. Diagnostic assessments are of two types. The first one is the assessment to determine baseline at the beginning of the year. Another one is assessment at the beginning of a new chapter, unit, or session. Now let's know how to conduct diagnostic assessment or steps or procedures of diagnostic assessment. The first and foremost requirement is planning. The next thing is collecting students' learning information, then learning information analysis and taking decision, then to set a test. Next process is result notification, then storing records, then choosing strategies to meet students' learning needs. Being a language teacher, I am going to focus on English second paper. Following processes of diagnostic assessment method, let's determine the baseline at the beginning of the year for the students of class 8. Subject English second paper, and the first step is collecting data of the learning outcomes of English second paper in class 7. Here we can write the following outcomes: article, preposition of time, place, and movement, transformation of sentences like affirmative to negative, assertive to interrogative or imperative or optative or exclamatory, voice, right form of verbs, capitalization and punctuation. To set a test, we can create a question like this way. Here, time may be 30 minutes and full marks can be 20. The first question is fill in the blanks with the correct articles, a and or the. The second question is complete the sentences with appropriate prepositions of place, movement, or time. The third question is rewrite the sentences as directed in the bracket. 4 number question is fill in the blanks of the following sentences using right form of verbs. 5 number question is use capital letters and punctuation marks when necessary. After taking the test on these topics, we will take the copy, then we'll notify the students their obtained marks, and we'll keep a record of their results, and we'll start working with the students who obtained less than 50% marks. The second diagnostic assessment is at the beginning of a new chapter, unit, or lesson. Suppose the name of the chapter is Sentence Connectors. Let's know what are the prerequisites for knowing sentence connectors. The first thing a student must have is basic grammar knowledge, basic sentence structure, including subjects, predicates, and objects, conjunctions and their roles in sentences, reading and analysis, identifying the coordinating and subordinating conjunctions in a passage and explain their function, vocabulary building, vocabulary to choose the most appropriate coordinating and subordinating conjunction for different contexts, awareness of synonym and antonyms to identify alternative connectors. Sentence types, identifying independent and dependent clauses within complex sentences. The difference between simple, compound, and complex sentences. Writing experience, learning to structure paragraphs logically, using linking words to transition between ideas smoothly. So, to test these prerequisites, we can create a question like this sample question paper. Here, time may be 30 minutes and full marks can be 20 or 15. You see, in this sample question, number one question is identify the conjunctions, then explain their roles in connecting ideas within the sentences. Two number question is identify the dependent clause and independent clause in the following sentences. Three number question is choose the most appropriate conjunction from the options in parentheses to complete the sentences. Four number question is identify simple, compound, and complex sentence. After taking the test on these topics, we will take the copies, will notify the students their obtained marks, and will keep a record of their result. And will start working with the students who obtained less than 50% marks. We already have known how to diagnose learning deficit. Now it's time for addressing learning gaps, methods and strategies for providing remedial support. Customized learning plans by a teacher that address specific challenges and strengths of a student. Pairing student with peers for collaborative learning may reduce learning deficit of a student. Developing relationship between lagging students with the teachers and classmates. Creating facility of extra care, learning aids and tactics. Building self-confidence and motivation to reduce anxiety related to learning. Creating alternative teaching learning strategy of a teacher for the students of learning deficit using visual, auditory, interactive tools, apps, and digital platforms that enhance engagement. Allotment of remedial support class by the school authority. Appointing temporary teacher by institutional management to take extra classes. So by trying these strategies, we can get a positive change in the students with learning deficit. And the broken bridge will be repaired so that the students can go a long way to reach his or her goal. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to improve your English language skill and if you want to know more about pedagogy, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tap the bell icon to get the next video notification.